at the Junction Mall here in Accra. We appreciate the partnership to offer discounted prices and amazing giveaways to our patrons, to every single one of you. We say thank you to EPP Books, to Posh Meg, to Whitford Golding, to the Kids Crib, Soul Africa, Vidia Books, Paradise Books, Tupperware, Den, Do You Have Ventures, also Ababawa Jewelry, Big Minerva Books and Stationery, Indomie, MacBerry, Pumpkin, and also Fidel, Veg Imaginations, and Cindy. Thank you very much for participating. We hope to do business with you again next year when schools reopen fully again. And also, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you, Kim Padua. See you sharing the stream. Thank you very much. What's on the front page is the business analyst this morning reports that controversy rages over government's insistence on oil block unification. Also, government to issue 22.346 billion Ghana cedis, I beg you, in domestic debt first quarter 2021. Also, businesses scared by threat of renewed lockdown, as the president indicates that if you don't behave, I will lock you down, typical of my grandmother, coffee or hour. Some Dowenya lands for government, Nene Bantama reveals. That's on the front page of the New Crusading Guide. And Sophia Kufu dares Muntaka to produce evidence of Supreme Court judge bribery accusation. And Scholarship Secretariat interviews 55,000 free SHS students. Also, Asamankese MCA rejects incompetence allegations and let's support Kufuado to deliver in the second term. Paul Chumbarima tells members of Parliament. The Daily Guide. 4 of our own gone to be with the Lord. COVID fingered. And COVID has killed security couple Pratt and others. Nanabini Pratt for a very long time, lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, also at GIMPA, very, very profound member of the Institute of Public Relations, Ghana, and he's gone to be with the Lord. Also, Leonard Ginuku, the man who designed the whole infrastructure for the ESLA that we are now all enjoying, is gone to be with the Lord. Also, Frances Ewa Chamanting of Ashesi University, we're told is gone. And our very own National Security Coordinator, Mr. Joshua Treme, a man who is properly eulogized within the intelligence circles, is also gone to be with the Lord. So the message is clear. Observe the protocols, wear your masks, and respect yourself. GJ demands action on Ahmed Swale's death. Speaker cautions would-be MP ministers and police analysis or MP killers contacts. Okay, it's analyzing there. It's supposed to be analyzing written analysis. BNFT, FDA outlines programs for 2021 amid COVID-19, assures safety of masks until vaccine is approved. The free trade agreement is a process, not an event that has been rushed, Secretary General tells the critics. And also, upsurge of COVID-19 cases gives parent teachers cause for worry as schools reopen. The Finder newspaper, Dr. Balmia donates 100,000 towards construction of Mother Teresa Soup Kitchen Center. Afinyo Makin constructs 14th community library in Efutu constituency. Some are struggling to build just one. Congratulations to you, Council. Election petition hearing resumes today, and we'll get you some details as we travel along. Unresolved murder of Swale sent message of unaccountability, the CPJ, and uneasy calm as schools reopen. Some parents express concern over rising COVID-19 cases. And finally, Ghana's oldest newspaper, the Daily Graphic, truth, accuracy, every day. President opens 72nd New Year school today. Also, pupils, students return to school after 10 months. And guess what? Private varsities face bleak future. Patronage of institutions declining. Why so? We'll tell you some more later. But my guest in studio, lawyer Bobby Bunsen, is a private legal practitioner and is a regular on our show. Also, our newfound love, Lebrech Chris Malm Hesse, is also a private legal practitioner, is here. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Let's begin. Kamala Adom, my colleague from the newsroom, did a cursory view of what the first day at school looked like. Take a look at it. When we return, we will talk about how the children are coping in schools and how some district directors of education are mounting pressure on teachers to come and pick their PPEs from the district office, but they are not telling them where to find transport.
Students are back in the classroom. The Ghana Education Service says the My First Day at School annual event, which is held on the first day at school for pupils who are in school for the first time, will happen on Tuesday. We ask, in the current COVID-19 circumstances, is such an event important at all? During the program, officials from the ministry, various assemblies and education directorates interact with the pupils, exchange pleasantries, and present them with educational materials and gifts. The gesture, according to authorities, is to welcome them and give them reason to be happy while in school. But as Ghana continues to witness a spike in COVID-19 cases, there are fears such an event across basic schools in the country could prove counterproductive. Benjamin Doe Lawson says it is a risky adventure.
In this era now, carrying someone's kid, puts the kid at risk. And who knows, you don't know whoever the parent is or how the parent will react to it should the child or kid get infected. So it's better not to risk that. For the gift aspects, I would say no, because you don't know the hand that is given, whether the person is infected or not. So it's not necessary.
But the Ghana Education Service has announced it will go ahead with it on Tuesday. For public health physician Dr. Isaac Adomaku, the public display for the cameras at this time is needless.
In the era of COVID-19, this should go to our politicians. The political season is over. We just had elections. So this is not a time for the big men to go to the schools and show off that, well, they are putting in measures. No, the government and all agencies at the various levels should be seen to be very proactive and should be seen to be doing the right things. It's not about being on camera and then doing those things. COVID, you can't be doing that.
Meanwhile, enforcing the basic mask wearing in schools remains a challenge. This is a Kanda cluster of schools. We later pitched camp at the Kukumlemle cluster of schools after class. Some pupils wore the masks upon seeing the camera. Others simply did not care. Why your masks? The masks are for you, not for us. It's class over on day one of resumption of academic work on campuses. And here at the Kukumlemle cluster of schools, you saw in a short time ago, a lot of the pupils not having their masks on. They have to be reminded that they have to put their masks on. Some had them in their bags, others in their pockets. And it appears it's going to be a very tough task for city officials and others to enforce this mask wearing protocol, especially among the younger class of pupils who are back to school.
That's my colleague, Komla Adum's report. A belated happy birthday to the Reverend Canon Patrick Okanja-Bortier. Yesterday was your 50th birthday, belated one to you. And just to remind you that for all the superior insights into what will happen at the Supreme Court today as they reconvene to hear the presidential election petition, we'll bring you all the fine detail. Dr. Lawyer Hesse will be here with us throughout that period, so stay with us. Counsel, let me begin with you, Bobby. So first day at school, this is what we found. What's on your mind?
I think it's a battle between what is loosely referred to as the education of the children and the COVID situation. I know in a lot of European countries, the children were actually allowed to go to school because they claim that the scientific research showed that kids have a lower risk of attracting it.
That's right.
We do, but later we've had situations where babies who are months old. In Ghana, I heard a story of a 3-year-old child who has also contracted it. So it looks as if children are not, that they don't get it, but the risk of getting is low. The unfortunate thing in our situation is that you look at from the environment, the classroom environment, whether they can observe social distancing, even in the classroom, the transportation that takes them to the classroom, and then the people that they interact with. I don't know if the teachers that are teaching in these schools, all of them, they were they went through testing
right.
to before school opened, so that they know that, okay, at least when they step into the school, they don't have it. Whether there's a system to periodically test the teachers, so that parents are given that level of peace that at least in the classroom or in the school environment, the children will not contract it from the teachers or from their handlers. Now, if that system is there, who is going to pay for it? Now, this is something that will further deepen the gap between the rich and the poor, because in some private schools, they have decided not to open the physical classrooms and then ask the students to stay at home and continue to do online.
Virtual, right.
Because they can afford it. The parents can afford it. But those who cannot afford it have no option than to take their kids to school, particularly when their parents are people who do jobs that will not allow them to stay at home and then do it. So it's something that I think the government should take a holistic view to it. It's not just about putting them in school, because if you put them in school and they die, or or their parents die, then what is the result of it? It's good that they must be in school, but I believe that especially in this era where the vice president is championing the digitization of everything, it is an opportunity for his office to find a way of taking the education from the physical classroom to online.
I thought that the president, in one of his many fellow Ghanaian addresses, had mentioned that the education ministry and the communication ministry at the time, Opuko Prempe and Eslawusu, should collaborate and see how we're going to get a digitized platform. This would be around July, August, if I'm not too late, maybe September. So October, November, December, January, 4 months on. And there's been absolute silence on
there's not been
digitization.
any discussion on how they are going to do it. And when he said that, don't give me an opportunity to close down the school, that was, it's like, okay, let's put them in school. Let's wait and see what will happen if the cases will rise. But these are kids.
But then that will be problematic, because the president has advisors who tell him that the light is green for you to send the children back to school. If you're saying don't give me a reason to close down the school, it means that the advisors, there may have been a lacuna in what kind of advice you were giving. Because if I say, okay, you're a lawyer, say, okay, this is a good case, let's go to court. Then we get to court and say, don't give me a reason to make us lose.
Well, I would not. I do not want to be in the president's shoe at this time. It's a very tough situation that he finds himself. It's not only the mere fact of putting the children in school, but actually the fact that the parents also, as long as their kids are home, they are not able to carry out economic activities.
Right.
And that is the truth.
Right.
Because they have said that if we have any form of lockdown, it will affect the economy badly.
That's
so
right.
I would not want to be in his shoes. I just pray, unfortunately, that is where we have to, that the education service, the health officials are able to put their acts together to make sure that, it's done right, and it can be done. Right. It's not as if it cannot be done. Like I said, in Europe, a lot of the countries did not allow their kids to be in school because they had put in measures to make sure that at least in the school environment, the children do not contract it. If they contract it at home and they come, they will find a way of having it done. We saw videos some time ago about in China, in Korea, they would test every student, your temperature before you enter, you sanitize before you enter, and all of that. But we don't have that here.
Speaking of which, yesterday I saw some students crowded at the frontage of the UPSA. My checks showed that they were testing their temperature. And I was thinking, you let them stand in the sun, and then you check their temperature. What are you hoping to achieve?
It's interesting.
Chris, so we are learning from some parts of the country that, yes, PPEs have been sent to the district offices, regional offices, but the district directors are asking the teachers to come and pick it. But they don't get car. So how do they pick it? And the schools don't have the supplies, and the schools are open now.
Yeah, I mean, this shows or evinces a certain breakdown in flow of strategy. Because ordinarily, if this is a flow of government intervention to trickle down to the districts for the benefit of the school children, and you have such offices having this important equipment sitting with them, and on the other aisle you have the education officers asking the schools to come for it.
Right.
Now, for all you know, they are already engrossed in a lot of financial difficulties, as we all know.
Which is the case.
Yes, which is the case. And I rather proffer that government should have a more interventionist approach to bridge up some of these little anomalies, which hitherto would cause a lot of grave harm. Transportation should never be a problem. It should rather be a proactive approach where you would have government officers moving PPEs to designated schools, so that if we know that there are about 50 schools within the district, it should be our strategy that we move to the first quarter by this week. Next week we move to, then we know that we are taking the problem by the horn. But if it is the inverse way, come and take them, they will cite a lot of reasons why they would be.
It does appear that maybe we did not learn from the piloting we did between July and September, when we asked the BC students to go and write, the WASI students to go and write. It does appear we didn't, because these problems came up then, and now they are coming up again. The school in Sanarigu, maybe Harriet, you play that video for us, for example, where we're told that all schools will be fumigated or disinfected. The children are now sweeping their classrooms. So were the classrooms disinfected when they were dirty? What were we trying to achieve? Did we learn?
Honestly, for me, I think the children...
That's one of the supposed fumigated classrooms now being swept. The dirt in there is as if nobody has visited the place for 25 years. Did we learn?
Like I said, that tells you that there's a certain breakdown in government strategy. Ordinarily, in my humble opinion, would think that kids up to probably class 5 or 6 should stay home. Because we saw reportage of students or kids mingling with nose masks, sharing nose masks, and they are kids. They don't understand COVID protocols. And if you say you are insisting on it, how can a kid put on a nose mask throughout the day? It's impossible. And they'll definitely go ahead to share. And in the situation where we have different strain, I mean, from our scientists yesterday,
6 different
yes,
strains,
we learned of the South African strain, we learned of the UK strain, and then the Brazilian strain, and I believe the others too. And their replication of the viral load in people increases at a certain efficient rate than the ordinary. And in the situation of the surge we are experiencing, I believe that government should reconsider, especially for the lower school, the elementary part, to suspend their progression or the continuation of the academic calendar, and probably have the upper school, junior high, or from class 6 to form 3 to be in school.
The educationists would disagree with you. They will tell you are setting them back.
No, because looking at, and you know, again, we don't have, I stand to be corrected, we don't have proper statistical analysis to show infection rates amongst elementary school or upper school limits, so that it would inform our researchers and subsequently our education experts to say that, yes, if we allow lower school to go, this is the rate of infection. This is the intervention we'll put in. If we allow upper school to go, this is also the rate of infection. This is the strategy we are putting in. And if we compare the percentiles of these upper limits and lower limits, it will be more convenient to government strategy and national security, because to support the upper school going forward. And I mean, just as we saw, and if you look at the screens, it's difficult for the kids to maintain the protocols.
Where is our COVID-19 tracker? The app that we launched. We launched it. There was music and dance. The vice president spoke. The minister for communication at the time spoke. Where is the tracker, the COVID-19 tracker? Where is it? Because it's supposed to be helping us to do some of these things. Dr. Emmanuel Amankra sat here last week and said the contact tracers are no longer there. The president confirmed our fears when he said last Sunday that they were trying to re-engage the contact tracers. Shouldn't we be bringing the contact tracers back now? Doc, Council, 4 of our giants are gone. Nana Benny Pratt, Leonard Jikunu, who did the ESLA thing, Francis Iweachroman thing, Ashesi, and our National Security Coordinator, Joshua Treme. They are all gone. They were told they had complications, but the bottom line is that COVID killed them all. How many more are we waiting to die before we get serious?
Well, my condolences to their family, but these are only 4 names blasted on the front page of the Daily Guide. There are people who have lost, people who are very close. I have lost very close family relations to COVID. It's like they say, the thing is moving from numbers to people that you know.
Right.
And you tend becoming more careful. Well, perhaps it's an attempt by the media to remind all of us that the thing is real. I think that I am not seeing the level of education that we expect. Because you see and it comes back. You can't avoid the fact that there was a drop in education or the noise, for lack of a better word, about COVID during the campaign season.
That's because the Minister for Information at the time said that there is no evidence to prove, per the science and data, that political campaign rallies were contributing to the community spread. He said it.
Yes,
he said it.
I know.
And
he
I
said
felt
it.
very disappointed when he said that. And again, the president on Sunday speaking said funerals, parties, family get-togethers, and all of that, and left political campaign. So that level of dishonesty in the public health education itself is problematic. It conditions the minds of the people to think that everything is okay. Exactly. And this is where we are.
And during the Christmas period, you would see videos of people behaving in this country as if that there's no COVID, and this is the results of what we have. We have to deal with it. I'm saddened because we thought we were doing very well, and then during the campaign, when people were advising them, listen, tone down on this, don't let it be as if COVID does not exist. We get that statement from a high-ranking government official.
And then they were jamming up in Parliament. No mask, and they were singing over each other.
And then you see
and then
what
they
has
come
happened.
and blame us.
It's something that it's sad. I don't think that the citizens have been reckless to that extent without those in authority taking some level of responsibility. Because we follow leaders, whether we like it or not. Somebody who is not as sophisticated as you and I would want to see that, okay, this is what our leaders are doing. The thing does not really exist anymore in this country. Let's also feel free and do what. Until the cases are very high, the hospital situation got worse before it was announced by the president. Because I had a cousin who called me from the UK that, listen, my mom has got it. We can't find her bed. It was like 10 p.m. What do we do? Do you know somebody? Can't find a bed for her in any hospital. And then you begin to shudder, like, wow, it's actually coming close to home. But you see, our leaders, politicians and political actors, if they face this situation, or if their close relation and family face this situation, I believe they'll have beds reserved for them.
Right.
And they will go there. But those down the chain who don't have it, who took it for granted because they were looking up to politicians who presented it during the campaign as if nothing ever existed. Because it wasn't only about Christmas parties. And this brings me to this point. When they opened the churches and the mosque, they were very, very strict about the conditions that would allow them to operate.
We even promised to have a church app. It is nowhere near.
But then you would have churches doing their services for only 1 hour, 30 minutes.
That's right.
And they are still doing it. And a lot of churches, my church I can say, the social distancing,
Okay.
the protocols, and actually you must register. There's
Right.
an app.
Right.
Before the Sunday, you must register, give your details,
That,
next of kin.
that app is not available. But what I know a lot of churches do is that they have a notebook or sort of thing at the entrance where you write and you indicate your phone number, and they actually allocate a seat to you. So they know that Bobby sat on seat 1,
Exactly.
Hesse sat on seat
Exactly.
2, I sat on seat 3.
Yes.
So if Bobby at any point contracted, we know that
Then
it was
there
close
is-
to Hesse
exactly.
and I, and we do it.
Exactly.
The churches are doing it.
And I believe that there will be, I've not been to a mosque, but I believe that there will be some system like that. So you see how strict we were on the religious entities. And
Right.
since they opened, they started worshiping. We have not had any case that is traceable there. We have not. So how come when it came to the campaign, the schools, we cannot put together such a system? And that is a problem. And I agree with what my colleague is saying. There seemed to be a breakdown in government strategy. It was like they woke up and all of a sudden they are faced with the situation. But they were warned that if you don't check these things, it would happen. A lot of people came into Ghana during the Christmas, even Nigeria. You had a lot of Nigerians coming through because they said in Nigeria, of course, they had a problem, lockdown, they could not do whatever. And then it was here. So like Ghana became free for all.
Party ground.
A party ground. And they've all left. They are gone. And we are faced with the situation.
Council, then it comes back to, by the way, some will be taken to Ghana East, others will be taken to the Bank of Ghana Hospital and the University of Ghana Hospital, and maybe in Yahoo. So you think properly when you're out there that there's a wholesale part and there's a VIP part, like we were told. But Council, there's a law that says if you don't wear your mask, you risk going to jail between 4 years and 10 years, or you risk paying a fine from 12,000 to 60,000. Your prisons are full. So custodial sentences at this point, knowing that if you mass up people, they will contract the virus, doesn't make sense. Majority of your people do not earn more than 15 cedis, as we were told by the government. So asking people to pay between 12,000 and 60,000 will not make sense, which means that defaulters may end up in jail as well. What was running through the mind of the framers of that law when they were making, to scare people or to actually make sure that we are abiding by the COVID principles?
Well, that question, if you ask in a typical law class, we'll take the person to jurisprudence and tell you that there is no bad law. But in simple terms, it is very important for us also to consider the economic situation. As I was driving in, I was listening to a certain radio station, and I mean, it was through their news review, and the reportage that came through from the north is that they sell one nose mask for 3 cedis, and then you multiply everything by the month. A mother or the family would have to cough out 60 cedis for a child. So if they have 3, you can imagine. Now, it will be difficult for a family in the north, somewhere in Tatale, somewhere, to continuously maintain 60 cedis. And you know, that's just one nose mask.
Right.
And in situations, in the course of the day, you could have your nose mask mangled and you'd want to buy another one, a fresh one, to have some good breath over it. And that would mean that 3 cedis will now double up. The economic situation compared in certain regions as compared to what permeates in maybe Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, far outweighs each other. Now, you expect that if what went into such briefing before that law was enacted was the ordinary citizen considered,
Right.
because ordinarily, if the person says, I just cannot afford it, and by mere reason of that, you are imprisoning me or you are throwing me down there, what is achieved? The deterrence that you are seeking to put in will not necessarily be achieved. And again, if you go into the prisons, what COVID strategies are put in there to make sure that the infection rate is very, very minimal?
In fact, the prisons reported that the whole of last year, they didn't have a single infection. You know, and for me, I like that because they were strict in there. And that's even because the places were crowded, they were able to manage it. If we are thinking of adding on more people and not expanding the infrastructure, we must think again, I think.
Is it that we have real statistics coming through? Because
that's what they tell us.
In Europe, and America, they have statistics of COVID through the prisons.
Right.
And even some of the prisons in those countries, they are decongesting them. So I love statistics. Is it that it's something that is coming through, or it's just propaganda? But if it is what it is, that there's nothing of COVID in the prisons, which I stand to doubt.
Okay.
It will be very interesting. So, for purposes of the law, a law is the law, and there is no bad law. Once the law stands, it's good law to deter people or to cause people to do a certain act. So, in the wisdom of it, I would only encourage people to follow the protocols, to wear the nose masks, where you are designated to do so, so that for your own good and health, you protect yourself and others around you.
Bobby, the president asked the IGP and his men to enforce the law. Now, I don't think it had to take the president to tell the law enforcement agencies to get to work, and this will be the umpteenth time when the president is telling them to, in fact, at some point, he even told them to redeem their image and all of that. Now, we do know that in our corrective system, it's either a jail term or a fine. That's what it's provided for. But in the wake of COVID-19, we saw some security men with canes whipping people or asking them to dig gutters and all of that. Maybe it's time for us to have a third leg of trying to correct, maybe some community labor of some sort. What do you think?
But there's been serious discussions, and I think it's reached an advanced stage, amendments to our criminal justice, the laws that regulate our criminal justice system to accommodate custodial sentences, and then people doing the kind of labor that you are referring to. Whether or not it should be extended to the COVID situation would require, or the law that give the EI, I think 64, would require an amendment to that law. It's not something that will be done in a matter of a month or two.
So then what the people in uniform were doing, asking people to dig gutters, was illegal?
Of course, it was illegal. But you ask yourself, will they be punished for doing something that some people would think that is the language that these recalcitrant people understood? Sometimes you may have to, and I'm not justifying it, but at that moment you may have to. And these were done mostly by the military. We are told they are given a different set of training. You can speak to that.
Of course, they are given a different set of training.
So they would not, carry you, take you, because then they would have to take you to the police. Look at all that procedure. It's too much. They will just let you do something. And I remember when the first lockdown came, some video went viral of a lady who was stopped by the military around the circle, Kwame Nkrumah circle, and then she said she was going to buy credit, or she was going to sell credit or something. And the questions the military asked her, she had no option than to just turn back and go home. The fear alone of seeing the military there on the road. I remember I was driving through somewhere up La Paz, and I saw people running because there were military, the armored cars coming during that period. So yes, it can be used, but except that it should be regulated so that it's not gone into excess where people will be unduly beaten for just walking on the street without any proper questioning and what have you. I think it's high time that we really have it's late, actually. It's late, but it's not. We would have to have an open discussion about this, how we are treating the COVID now.
Okay, all right. And your messages will be read, so send them in and let's have a global conversation. We're also on Facebook, on Twitter, at TV3 Ghana. Now, Chris, let me start this conversation with you. Ahmed Swale, 2 full years. The last time we heard from the police was 1 year ago when they said they were working on something. Since then, they've been silent. He was killed on the 16th of January. 2 years ago, 2019. And here we are, 2 years, still no show. What's on your mind?
May his soul continue to rest in peace.
Can his soul rest in peace?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we have not till date been able to firmly fish out the evildoers of such a gentle soul. It is, if I may use the word, it is an indictment on the CID department that they had not swiftly dealt with this particular matter. And more so, at certain times, investigations of this gentle journalist takes a political swipe. And when such angles also permeate through investigation processes like that, it becomes difficult for the state actor to really do justice to it. But in as much as, or irrespective of whatever political coloring that mars it, I believe that the CID is called to task. And the reason for they being there is for us to resolve some of these murders, and for families to put closure to themselves. And interestingly, it will be a win-win situation for rule of law, because Ghana is touted as one of the doyen of democracy when it comes to sub-Saharan democracy development and tiring its values and principles. I would use this platform again to call on the CID to have a more swifter investigative processes so that journalists, the journalism community and Ghana at large would have closure to it, because the ways and means this gentleman lost his life was so cold and brute, and no family would sleep over such a memory of what happened. Yeah.
Council, Bobby, take a bite on this one. 2 years, 2 full years, and we're still not out of the woods. And maybe you can add the Takrady girls, can add the death of JB Dankwedu, add the death of Kwanzaa, Fenekotri, Roger Kumsin, Nene Benta, Professor Bene. Name them. A tall list of unsolved murders. And yet we know our police, they have the capacity to deliver. So what's keeping them from delivering, to the extent that you have UNESCO, the president, GJ, Tiger Eye, everybody calling on them to do your work, and the work remains undone?
Well, I don't know if they will admit that the work remains undone. They say that when it comes to security matters, investigations may take as long because it's better to take your time and then get it right. So I will not. I think that one of the reasons why people seem to be on their neck is that if it had involved, some other people, you would have seen that they would have acted swiftly. I think that after the Mankesim MP was murdered, within a week or two, certain people were arrested.
That's right.
Immediately, and then but I don't know if
now we're being told that their contacts are being
analyzed to see, yes, and we don't get that kind of narration and feedback when it comes to certain people as well, and that is why it leads that suspicion that is as if that with these persons you are just not interested, or for political convenience you are not interested in pursuing it. Particularly with Ahmed Swale, I believe there were talk by some people about they know who did it, they will expose who did it, how, and threats and all of you. But I don't know if they have invited some of these people. I don't know if their investigations cover these people, and they are not giving us a lot of information. I believe that is why the media and the general public are concerned the extent to which they are interested in investigating this thing. And they have a very good PR system. You see that when it's a matter that adversely affects their image, they quickly issue a statement or they quickly
Police
talk,
is your friend. Rest assured,
You know.
we are on it. Maintain calm and
and
everything will
what
be
have
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Keep on keeping on.
For some reason, they are not very up to speed with issuing statement or letting us know what is happening. Again, it may be a strategy because it's a security issue, and we can't wait forever. His family definitely will not be able to wait forever. So it's in their own interest that they bring, closure to this.
Okay, and condolences to his family. I pray that his blood will continue to stain the hands of those who did the murder, committed the murder, and will stain the conscience of those who have been clothed with power to ensure that justice is brought to him. And for everybody who is pulling strings or not, we don't know, but let the blood stain your hands. Keep it in your hands. Bella.
Yes, let's read some messages. Thank you, Johnny. A. Farouk is going to start our messages today, and he's texting us from Tamale. He says, good morning. The COVID-19 cases in Ghana today is totally alarming. The government, instead of tackling the COVID-19, were busy fighting for power in the last few months. Why won't cases rise? Good morning, TV3. The president announced the reopening of schools 2 weeks ago, but a visit to some schools yesterday indicated that 95% of pupils are not wearing the mask. No hand sanitizer, only one Veronica bucket where pupils have to queue to wash their hands. Are we fighting against COVID-19, or is it because election is over? That's from Baffa Michael Oscar. Good morning, TV3. A school called Poita Adofe DAKG Primary School in Ho West District has not been fumigated. Meanwhile, all other schools within the circuit this school is located were fumigated. It appears as if everyone is neglecting this school due to its location. Please help get this information to the appropriate quarters. That's from Chris. Government has typically toyed with this COVID-19 pandemic, and now we're at a point where all these reactionary measures will make very little impact. You close borders and schools when cases are low and open them when they're high. I don't know what science we are using. God have mercy on us. Good morning, TV3GH. I'm Kweku, a teacher of SHS in the Eastern region. And from what we're witnessing, as students report back to school, it indicates that parents are just happy to move their kids out of their homes to school. Can you imagine students reported to school all the way from Accra and other areas sitting in buses for long hours for us to ask of their personal nose masks and sanitizers, and some had none? Are we to wait and count on government all the time? If we don't go for a total lockdown soon, then this virus isn't real. Kweku, a concerned teacher. Johnny, good morning. I took my ward to a senior high school in the Volta region over the weekend. And look, the headmaster told me in all honesty that they've not received any PPE before resumption. So why is our leader deceiving us? COVID is real. So if they can't protect us, why the rush? That's Aram from Adenta Newside. Good morning, Johnny. I'm always happy tuning in to listen to you talk because of the wisdom you pour out to us. I'm very surprised at the rate at which some of the schools around my area disregard the safety protocols to the extent of having an assembly without masks till the time they close. Yesterday, as at 1:30 p.m., the lower and upper primary of Fadama cluster of schools were still not closed, and it's very sad. We all know how these kids are. Johnny, I wish you could send someone to Fadama cluster of schools to witness what I'm saying. I'm Slim inside Abekala Pass. Good morning, Mr. Johnny. Please inform the Minister of Education. Well, at the moment, we only have a representative at the Ministry of Education. That not even a single school in Tolon district has received the face mask. Okay, Ghanaians should not forget that coronavirus is real and still living with us. So we should stay safe and comply with all the healthy precautions. We don't have to joke with it at all times because this is a dangerous disease and it has no respect for persons. God save us all. That's Yao Osakide from Taifa. And finally, good morning, Johnny. As for me, I don't believe that COVID-19 is in Ghana because the government is using us to collect money from the West. I see whoever dies in Ghana is as a result of natural death.
Really?
Wow.
Okay, I need you to go up a bit and look for the message where the teacher said they're collecting,
what
do you call it? Offloading fee from them.
Oh, yes, good.
Should be
good,
up
good.
there somewhere.
I'm not sure if it was sent into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then go back, compress.
Let me find, that would be.
Okay, so I said just sent a picture. No. Scroll down a bit,
same,
scroll down.
Same?
Scroll down.
Okay.
I just sent a picture. No, to the left.
Okay, Johnny.
Okay, scroll up a bit, you will see me. Scroll up.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Johnny.
it. Click
on
on
that's you. Yes,
yeah.
okay.
I just sent you real-time picture somebody sent to me. you may have to put off the keyboard to your right. Yeah.
Okay. That might be a struggle, but let me just expand it. I don't think
so.
It's...
Just this morning, the students are going to school, and this is the situation.
See if I can just open.
They're going to school and they don't have the face masks. That's it. So,
well, even for those who are wearing, who have the mask, it's under their chin.
Yeah. So somebody just sent me on his way to work. He was watching earlier. He got into his car, so he saw it and he decided to say, it's a personal friend who wants to remain anonymous, by the way.
There's one who's holding his.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to all be holding those masks, but they're not wearing it. Let's see.
They are not wearing them.
The other ones. Yeah. So
but
some are wearing, some are not.
Yeah. He also shows me there's another photo of some GIJ students. Okay, so they are matured and they are wearing
all
their
have
mask.
Their mask on, yes.
So the education must go down properly. Maybe let us see the primary school children again.
But that's where the question is, because people are wondering if those, from primary 6 downwards really need to go back to school, because a lot of them do not necessarily understand COVID-19. And so maybe we could have protected them more. Exactly. And allowed them to stay at home whilst we allow the older ones to go to school. That could have worked.
In some of the private schools.
Bella, thank you very much.
You need to go with 5 face masks.
Yeah.
In a mask, in a plain container.
Labeled with
labeled.
Wow.
And it will be inspected with a sanitizer before the ward enters. And no parent enters. And you have to fill a form, health declaration form, where you live, who you come into contact with, periodically. And that's why I'm saying that it may widen the gap. Because you cannot tell, like you were saying, somebody who comes from somewhere to buy 4 face masks. But those who can afford these rich schools that they've opened.
And most of our public schools are not even walled. So Wache seller walks in, ice cream seller walks
They
out,
walk to the Wache seller to buy.
And they buy. I mean, it's just there. Well, may God keep us all safe. You know that COVID-19 is real. We're just showing you pictures. And this is not to bastardize anybody. This is just to get all of us up, running, and working. There's a basic school supervisory at the Ghana Education Service. Good morning to you. We want you to work. Ghana Health Service, we want you to get up and work. We don't want talk. We are done with the politics. We want the regular updates. We want to see MCC officers getting into the schools in the districts to be educating people, ISD folks. We want to see you work. If they have not been resourced, give them money to work. But Council, where Supreme Court is reconvening today, let's wrap up on that one. We will come back with you on Election Petition 2020. But what are we to expect today in court?
Well, basically, they're going to have a pre-trial, and I always explain to people that who are not lawyers that pre-trial, as if we come into our studio session before you come online, the cameraman will check 1, 2, 1, 2,
right,
and you also be checking your intercoms or whatever name you call it, and all that to make sure that everything is on point before you finally zoom into action and you do your countdown. It's the same thing that happens in our courts. So that before we go into trial or hearing, you'd have the court or the bench would have that kind of meeting in simple terms with the bar representing the parties for them to go through their various whatever they seek to rely on, by way of witnesses, how many witnesses you call, and all of that, whether there will be some subpoenas, expert witnesses, all of those things will be nipped in the bud before we go, so that nobody will be taken by surprise and all of that.
Okay, Bobby, there's also the temptation, at least from what you saw in 2013 and final one, the temptation of people running their own commentary and prejudging matters on social media and in the media. What do you say to them?
Well, I think
Sir John is going to be with the Lord. I would have invited him to have a conversation with him.
I think you do that at your own peril. And I've already seen people treading the line, and I shake for them, because I don't think the Supreme Court would allow anybody, whatever or whoever you think you are, to be to drag their name into the mud. You know, whether you have reason to, you think that it was the right thing. With contempt, it's not an issue of what you thought, that whether it was right or not. It is the effect of what you did. I mean, you don't need somebody to advise you. If you were in this country in 2013, you could see the caliber of people who were dragged before the Supreme Court, and they were shaking. And so, I mean, you and I, we cannot stand there. We cannot, because, you know, Sir John, at that time, may his soul rest in peace, was classmates at the law school level with some of the members of the bench in 2012, 2013.
That's right.
Classmates. And yet, see how they treated him. Sat in the same class with him from Legon to law school, graduated together. And yet, when he fell foul of the law by speaking the way he did, they did not spare him.
The law is the law.
It's the law. So, I mean, you and I, who will not be their classmates, imagine what they will do to you. So it's in your own interest that you are careful. Just speak to the facts and then not.
Okay,
yeah. Quickly to add to him, I've also seen reportage of a political party saying that a certain judge, Supreme Court judge, empaneled, are taking bribe, and the former CJ has challenged, I think it's Muntaka or something.
Muntaka, right.
Yes.
So this is not them paneling. This is in relation to the election of the Speaker of Parliament. The Chief Justice himself, Justice Enieba, through Justice Pamlado, the Judicial Secretary, had written to say they take grave notice of that, and they are working with Muntaka to ascertain the veracity of that claim. But the former CJ, JSC Sufai Kufu, had also dared him to say, bring your evidence beyond the wild allegations.
I'd urge the rank and file to remain calm, not to, especially when it comes to judges, not that we condone or support any evil, but you should know the way you approach some of these things to not be called as contempt. So.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Lebrush Chris Malm Hesse. He is a private legal practitioner. He will be with us for the full time that will be bringing you that extensive coverage from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will resume sitting today in the matter of the presidential election petition for 2020. John Mahama has sued the Electoral Commission and Nana Danko Ekufu, the first and second responders. Also, thank you, lawyer Bobby Banson, for joining us here. He's also a private legal practitioner. Kim Padua, good morning to you, and belated happy birthday to the Reverend Canon Patrick Okanja-Bortier. Yesterday was your 50th. If it's your birthday as well, happy birthday. We'll see you after the break. Wear your mask. Wear it.
There are far too many motorcycle accidents in Ghana. People are dying every day because we don't obey the rules. As a rider, you must wear your helmet at all times. So